Hey guys, what is up? This is Kid of Burn 1 here with the restriction list update video. I know we're kind of a little bit late to the party by a couple days, but I figured we still get that out there. So starting off, we'll start with the obvious hit, Quintessential quintuplets. Obvious hit. Everyone was expecting this, I think, at this point. It was the exact ban that Japan did initially with Quintessential quintuplets. Our first hit to the set for 8 standby quints. Everyone kind of looked at it and laughed because we all knew that the initial ban list basically did nothing to the deck at all. It essentially banned the important charm event counter. And there was no way anyone was ever going to pick that card if they were playing 8 standby. So it lost one of its tools to, like, I guess, live an extra turn when it shouldn't have. But it still was super consistent, super powerful, very oppressive. I mean, hell, it got first and second place at Worlds at the beginning of this year, and I think for the rest of the year, it's anticipated that this deck is going to still be powerful, especially once movie set comes out. So this movie set comes out sometime in June, I believe. I don't have the exact date offhand. So this ban here is only going to really affect the current list for a few months, and then once movie comes out, I think if there's no update to the ban list for this, then I think 8 standby Quince once again is going to be very, very dominant overall. So we'll just got to wait and see if we end up adopting the same thing as Japan did, where they limited the level 3 Nino, I believe that's her name, to 2 in a deck instead of being able to be up to 4. I think that helped curbs the deck a lot down and brings it back down to the kind of power level of like maybe a high tier 2, low tier 1 type of deck. In essentially, I do know the only times I've ever played against the movie set 8 standby was a few times, but every time I played against it, it felt super consistent, like even without that stuff, with the limitations it now has, and it has still insane high roll potential, which is obnoxious. But yeah, the deck is just really powerful. So any 8 standby lovers out there, I think they should have expected this, and also, like, unless it gets touched in the movie set, you're probably going to be good for the rest of the year if you love playing this deck. Now on to the next one, which was met with a mixed bag, I think, in the responses I saw initially. So I think 99% of the people I've talked to before this ban list was released for 7 Deadly Sins or this restriction list, we all expected this exact thing to happen. The only thing that most people didn't expect was they thought it was going to be the Gil level 3 with the Escanor level 3, but for some reason here, they went ahead and put the Escanor level 0 on here, which is essentially the same thing, because if you pick the Gil level 3, you essentially cannot play the Escanor level 3. Because the Escanor level 3 needs this level 0 as a discard cost for the effect. Kind of strange they did pick this. I have had some back and forth discussions with the other team members about them picking this. I think most people who aren't upset about the ban, just more confused of why they picked this level 0 instead of just, pointing to the actual problem, which is the level 3. I do think some people, though, complaining about it are being... I can't think of the word off my head, but they're being disingenuous in the sense that I don't think there was a list out there that was using this specific Escanor level 0 and this level 3 Gil in the same deck, like, ever. Like, I understand moving forward, like they probably should have just put the level 3 in instead of the level 0, just so that other random decks can have more options, because I know there's this level 0 and there's another level 0 that does a similar effect as this Escanor level 0. So essentially they technically have the option of running 8 of this effect essentially, but I think the cost is different for the effect on each one. But yeah, I think this is expected. One thing to note, though, I think if anyone is complaining that this is like kills the deck or anything, they have no idea what they're talking about. The deck right now with this ban already tested. I have some friends tested. Nico of Burn 1 tested it and stuff. And before this even was released, I essentially agreed, like, this is the most lightest slap on the wrist. Like, hey, we're watching you, 7 Deadly Sins. You better get your shit together. Otherwise, if you're getting too out of hand, we're going to have to really ban you. And I think moving forward into the single season, I'm not sure. I always forget when these ban lists get updated. I don't know if it's going to get updated before or during the single season. but I can expect that if this isn't enough to put Seven Deadly Sins in line of the power level they want out there for like their top decks in Weiss right now, then we can expect another hit to Seven Deadly Sins. I wouldn't be surprised if like this choice list didn't change, but they added one, so it's a choose one of three, and they put on like the level 0 Brainstormer that combos with the stock soul. I do personally think, and most people I've talked to, it's been also kind of a mixed bag. I think about like 60 or 70% of the people I talk to agree that the level 0 Brainstormer stock soul climax combo is really, really busted and really, really strong. Every time I play that deck, it's my go-to combo essentially. It doesn't have as good, what is it? It doesn't have as good selectivity as like the 2-1. Like the reasoning behind playing the 2-1 in the list is that sometimes you just need that selectivity. But a lot of times you also don't really care about the selectivity because your hand can naturally fall into place, and you have usually you have like really good brainstorms and stuff to fix your hand essentially to set up your hand for the level 3 game plan. Talking about Seven Deadly Sins post restriction after April 21st. Obviously, like I said, the deck basically is the same. The only difference moving forward is we're probably going to see a lot more copies of the red level 3 early play that has like has different modes you can pick from. I already thought that card was pretty powerful on its own, but Gil obviously was insane for the deck. It had every effect that Gil had was just so powerful for the deck. There was no reason not to run this. The fact that Gil can give itself an extra soul, so if you need a side for like increments of 1 or 2, depending on what's left on the board, it's really strong. The fact that you bounce one of your opponent's cards so that you get an extra soul on your Escanor was really stupid, as well as being able to top check 3 and rearrange any way you like. So like, hey, I found 2 stock souls on top of my deck. It's time to go in with double Escanor, and then your opponent's dead. The deck itself is insane. I think a majority of my losses with the deck are all states of where either I died when I was at level 2, or for some reason, even though with all the effects I've had and like multiple cards I could top check with, I was for some reason unable to find a climax, the climax swap into the right climax for Escanor, the choice climax. Another thing of note that's kind of weird about this restriction here is that initially I was like, oh, you gotta like hand fix for one more card because you need to usually climax, you need the top check so you can decide your attack order, right? So being only able to see 2 cards, I guess, hurts the nut nature of the level 3 popping off on you and being able to like always hit that stock soul. So if you don't see a stock soul in the first 2 triggers of your deck, then you either have to pick to attack with whatever you see there, like one of the triggers, for example, or you got to gamble with the last attack. One thing about that, though, is the only time I think this really makes it kind of like awkward and choosing is if you see 2 triggers on the top, and then maybe you have to figure out if you really want to gamble on that last attack being a stock soul or not. Otherwise, most of the time, if you see 1 trigger, 1 non-trigger, you're always going to attack last with the last Escanor for the random chance of being a stock soul or a trigger. So I'm not sure how much like not being able to see all 3 triggers really affects your game plan. Maybe the attack order becomes kind of awkward because before, I know a lot of the times I would like double Escanor, and then with Gil at least I could decide whether I wanted to side attack and gain the soul or not. But now that Gil is gone, you probably don't even ever have to worry about that, so you can just like double Escanor. And I guess in some cases maybe you can triple Escanor now and not care because you're doing that. But I think I kind of got off track here. The big thing about the deck though is that initially I thought like, oh, you gotta like hand sculpt for 1 extra card that you normally didn't, but then I took a minute to think about it. I was like, actually that was a stupid statement in a way, because you're always going to be grabbing the climax swapper of choice, whatever one you were using before, if you didn't already have the choice in hand. So a lot of in-game hands already looked like Gil, 2 of the level 0, and then 2 level 3 Escanors, and then usually you had like the climax swapper as your last card. That was a typical hand or something similar to that, or some way to get the climax swapper into your hand, or some drop search or something like that. So even with this hit, it doesn't really affect how you sculpt your hand. I guess you lose a little power in the sense that one of your climax swappers isn't like a 3/5 beater anymore, essentially. I'm not sure which one was used more often. I feel like the 3-5 beater was used more often because you were playing Gil anyway, so there was no reason to really play multiple copies of the King Climax Swapper, the level 0. But moving forward, obviously, people are probably going to play that as like a 2-of or something in their deck because they need that top check effect to guarantee their high roll on Escanor level 3s. But yeah. Oh, I guess one thing that's, I don't know if I said it in this video because I've recorded this like 2 or 3 times already because I've had audio issues in the background. I don't know if I did say this or not, though. I think the other issue here is that people were kind of surprised that the level 0 Escanor was put on the ban list, and I generally agree with them because I think most people thought it was going to be the Gil level 3 plus the Escanor level 3. This essentially is like almost the same ban. I do think some people are like irrationally upset about it being the level 0 on there instead of the level 3, because there, I guess, like there's some spicy list out there or something going around or whatever. But I think those people who were like a little upset, a little more irrationally upset about it, were just like coming to this idea that there was like some list out there that actually played the Gil level 3 along with the Escanor level 0, but not play the Escanor level 3. I don't believe there was a list out there that really did that, or at least was a popular list for people that didn't want to play the Escanor level 3. Because I was like, why would you ever play this level 0 Escanor over and not play the Escanor level 3, right? It at least to me, it doesn't make sense. But I totally understand, though. Like, I'm not sure why Bushiroad decided to go for the level 0 instead of hitting the level 3 like everyone expected, I guess. Maybe they were like trying to subvert expectations or be cheeky and be like cute, like wink wink, like, we know this is the problem, but we're not going to ban the specific card. Instead, or restrict the specific card. We're just going to restrict a card that card needs. So essentially, banning that card if you choose to choose the Gil level 3. But we all know, looking at this restriction list, Gil is essentially banned and everyone's going to play Escanor level 3 unless for some reason there is unless there's a reason for them not to play Escanor level 3 and something better comes along, which I don't think right now there is anything better than Escanor level 3 in 7 Deadly Sins. Anyway, though, that's my thoughts on this. We might get together as a team and like have a discussion in an upcoming podcast about the ban list and things we would love to see in the future for the ban list. So if if that does happen, I hope you guys come by and check us out and discuss with us in chat. But yeah, other than that, guys, I hope to see you in the next video. Otherwise, I'll see you guys later.